couple of years ago, I made a video on this channel called My Plan to Quit Streaming. And in that video, I talked about how I started a company called Offbrand with the idea of making events for not just myself, but other creators. And that company was mostly made up of former Beyond the Summit employees. Unfortunately, yesterday we had to announce that we are closing down the production side of Offbrand. We released a statement that I'm going to read verbatim because it's pretty well written. When we started Offbrand, our plan was to help creators bring their ideas to life. For many creators, we did that, and we're proud of everything we helped create. Our people worked hard, and we made amazing content, but we failed to make the events business sustainable. And as a result, we made the difficult decision to shut down that side of the business. Offbrand Games isn't going anywhere, and I'm going to keep making events through Mogul Moves. But we want to thank everyone who supported and watched the events we helped produce. If you're looking for talented folks in production, please check out. We have a sheet that has a lot of the people listed. I've already had a lot of people personally reach out interested. So if you're hiring, reach out fast. I would love if you did that. Now, this video is absolutely not to garner sympathy in any way, shape, or form, but it is more so to answer questions about how we got to this point, and then some just general misinformation I've seen to respond all of it in a one-stop shop, as opposed to talking about it on stream every day. Now, the first thing I see a lot of people talk about is somehow connecting this to the structure of the company and it being a co-op. The most annoying people in the world are going to blame this on Ludwig turning Offbrand into a workers' co-op. I've seen a lot more people worried about these type of people than those type of people actually existing. But I mean, simply put, this is almost completely irrelevant to the structure of the business. The structure of the business, in fact, is also still in place, right? Offbrand Games is still a co-op, and it would only ever change if all the employees wanted to change that. But the real issue was the business model. Now, the business model wasn't working, wasn't making money. And the main difference, if you have like a traditional S corporation as opposed to a worker co-op, is it's easier to get outside investment. But I don't think outside investment would help a failing business model. And we know that because it happens all the time, like esports. They have a bunch of outside investment, but when that VC money dries up, it shows that the underlying business model isn't working and they have to change their business model. We did that without the outside investment. And of course, outside investment can help like with an initial runway because, most businesses don't make money in the first year. But instead of finding that money from the outside, I personally invested. I used my own money. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The next thing I see being asked a lot, God, that sucks, but they got to do what they got to do. They put on amazing stuff. I wonder what Jerma's going to be up to. A lot of people are curious what Jerma's going to be up to. And Jerma's talked a bit about this on his stream, but about 6 months ago, I think, maybe a little more, Jerma stepped back from Offbrand Productions to just deal with some stuff in his personal life. He was an irreplaceable part of Offbrand. Like, he adds a creativity that I think is one-on-one. I don't think I've ever seen it in another human. You don't get Doug Shovelthon without the mind of Jerma. You don't get like unpaid intern without the mind of Jerma. He's a super talented guy. But as far as does this mean he's a full-time streamer or whatever? That is for Jerma to speak to. But it shouldn't functionally change how his life was operating in the coming 6 months based off like the past 6 months when he initially stepped back to like have some more time for himself. Hope that makes sense. Next thing I'm seeing a bit of, is this because the YouTube contract is over? Kind of the same answer as the worker co-op versus the S Corp. The YouTube contract allowed me to have a lot more money to like invest in places, right? And invested in various things, whatever. So I don't have a big sum of money to, keep it rolling for a year, 2 years, whatever. But even if I did, whenever that money runs out, again, underlying business model was not making money. So let's talk about why it wasn't making money. Now, a lot of people are hypothesizing that it's because events don't make money. But that's not actually true, right? They don't necessarily sometimes make money for me as the creator directly. If I spend a good example, $1.5 million on chess boxing, but I only personally make $1.25 million back, you might think of that as a $250,000 loss for me. And why is Ludwig running events? That's bad for him. But you can, or at least I can, maybe safely assume that, hey, I might make a $250,000 of extra value as a creator because I have grown as a result of doing this event, right? This is the biggest event I've ever done. It has the most eyeballs. And over the course of the next 5 years, that $250,000 will come back through the extra growth that created. So I don't mind that loss. And the production company doesn't have that loss. right? They are a production company that itemizes the amount of costs that they had to bear, including employee time, and then covers that cost sometimes with like, an additional like service fee. So they are not losing money. In fact, those are the best months is when there are huge events like streamer awards or a HS boxing. The issue isn't the events, it is the time between events. So if we had a streamer games, a streamer awards, a Sea Dog charity auction every single month, or even 2 a month, that's what the team is capable of handling and would also need to handle to be able to sustain itself. So the issue was less that events don't make money, but more so that the appetite from creators for events of that scale at the cadence it would need to be would not allow people to be employed full time. It only really makes sense for like contract work. And you can kind of see that the appetite isn't there if you just look at the biggest streamers in the world over the past year on Twitch. This is like the top 15 creators on Twitch. And you can see here, nobody except for Kai on this list is doing big events. I guess Tarek is doing Ludwig Tarek 3 and a few other things to his credit. And, Hassan did that show with Twitch. But for the most part, most of these people are just in their bedroom every day, and their costs are like what it costs to keep the lights on and have internet running through their computer. That's about it. There are very few creators who are interested in, spending $250,000, $500,000 to do some random cool shit that at least, some big event or whatever. They'd rather do it from home. And who can blame them? I think they're doing that because that's a reflection of what the audience wants as well. All right, if you look at the best streamed event nominees for 2024, it's a lot different than it was a few years ago. It doesn't mean it's worse. It's just different. Like the road trip to TwitchCon, that was a fucking banger stream. But the reality is NMP set up all the tech for that. And it's like feeling like you are a part of this road trip with these people with maximum chat interaction, as opposed to something like Streamer Games, which is like, kind of like a fun knockoff Olympics with a bunch of creators, but you don't get that interaction that I think a lot of people vie for when they're watching streams. And so I think there's like a general shift that creators are doing that is a reflection of their audience's appetite. Now, we were able to make a lot of cool shit happen in the 2 years that we existed, starting from Mogul Money Live, which is kind of like the first event that then started the snowball of Offbrand. And we did Juice, chess boxing, Jerma's Christmas special, like 3 Ludwig Tareks, Pog champs. But you'll notice a lot of these are just my events. That's just the fact. A lot of them are my events. And I, unfortunately, although I wish I could be, am not a big enough creator to be able to sustain all of those full-time employees. I'm just not. I tried, man. I tried to do every big event I possibly could, and every cool thing. I worked as hard as I ever have this past year, but like maybe only Kai is big enough to be able to do that, and has the appetite to also do that. And we didn't have enough outside streamers to be able to fill all those gaps between the large events that we did do. All right, I hope that makes sense. That's the general issue. Now, again, Offbrand Games isn't going anywhere. Okay, Offbrand Games is going amazing, honestly. Like Rivals of Ether 2 has been a blast to publish and promote and like play. Although at times it's been sad because I dropped down to silver. But I enjoyed it a lot. And that part of the business, we are going to keep going. All right. We have a lot of people still on that team. It's just the production side, which is changing. So for me personally, it's going to be switching to more contract work and also switching, I think, the style of events that I do. For example, I did 2 events in the past month. One is World's Greatest Gamer, where I got all the greatest gamers in the world. I flew them out. They drove out 20 people, put them up in hotels. It was a 2-day event, streamed it, and Void eventually won. It was sick. That peaked at about 30,000 viewers. It was a lot of fun to do. The other event I did was League Week. It was in this exact room. We had a pretty cool set. Me and Connor played League for 100 hours straight. I won as many games as I lost, and we peaked at like 38,000 viewers on just my stream. I think 50 across both streams, which is crazy, right? It's crazy because the cost of League Week is 20 times lower, but I think reflects what audiences want, which is like maximum engagement with their streamer. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing events, because I still really like doing things like streamer games. You know, for me, that's like that's like fucking winter vacation when you're in school. It's like, that's the shit that I do look forward to doing. So still want to do things like streamer games. We'll still try to do that next year. And other events have already switched to being done by contractors. If you have a keen eye, you might have noticed the most recent Ludwig wasn't produced by Offbrand. Neither was the LACS Rivals event. That was also not produced by Offbrand. There were some Offbrand employees working on it, but those events are still going to happen. This doesn't mean that, like, no, I'm not doing any more Smash events or any more stream. That's not at all what this means. And at some point, I might talk a little bit more about how this happened so suddenly, but it's because the cost mounted quite quickly. All right, simply put. It got to a basically unsustainable point. And I've seen some people give shit for like the timing of this, right? Like before the holidays, whatever, which is fair criticism. We are doing like a good severance package. We are paying people out for the next 2 months. But the reality is if we were to have kept this business going until March, I would not only have enough money, I would not only not have enough money to keep Offbrand going, but I'd also have to shut down Mogul Moves at that point. It was beginning to impact both businesses with just the burden of costs of the production side, if that makes sense. So it's something we had to act quickly on. And if we were to delay breaking the news to the employees, you know, maybe you could announce this after the holiday break and sit on it, then they would just have less time to find work. So obviously the timing is not ideal, but we did it and we acted the moment we found out the information that, hey, by March, if we don't do something, everything is going to shit. Okay, so it was really an act now or act never situation. But anyway, that's it. Again, I'm gonna link the staff spreadsheet in the description. If you are hiring, please check it out. And if there are any questions, you can throw them in the comments. Maybe I'll make a follow-up video or talk about it a little bit on stream. But that's the main deal. Sad day, but tis life. Tis life, and you know what you do? Keep moving, because that's what the globe does. All right, see you later. Have a good one. Goodbye, everyone. See you later. Goodbye.